What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of You Can't Make This BS Up, where we talk about true crime stories. This season, our true crime story is going to be based upon killer neighbors. And again, this is your host, Joel Davis. Again, guys, I had a rough week this week. I want to thank everybody for their prayers about my son. He's doing better. If you didn't know or not, he experienced a hit and run, but thank God that he did not get anything broken or majorly messed up. They are in the process of investigating who did it. I just thank God that my wife acted in such time to get our son to the medical assistance that he needs. Even though he's an adult, he does have a mental disability, and I'm just thankful that my wife was there to calm him down, to also get him the medical attention. And shout out to the Wayne County EMS and also to Wayne County Medical Facility for doing their thing to make sure that he was safe. Now, guys, since we are on the topic of the killer neighbors, a neighbor is supposed to be someone that you can rely on in the time of need. If you go away, your family has things that has to be done or accomplished. Your neighbor is supposed to be your eyes and ears when you're not around. They are supposed to help you when you need help. But what happens when your neighbor becomes your arch enemy? And what happens when the disagreement with you and your neighbor ends with somebody losing their life? Now, I'm going to read a scripture. I always do this when it comes to this course right here of the killer neighbor. If you're not a religious person or don't believe in Christianity, you can bypass this for a minute or so, this intro. But I want to break it down with this. This is a very good scripture to keep in mind about a neighbor. And this is 1 Peter 3rd chapter 8th verse. Finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren. Be pitiful. Be courteous. Basically, that scripture means treat your neighbor with kindness, have empathy, show that you care, try to do what you can to make your neighbor life and your life dwelling with each other as easy as possible. But unfortunately, these neighbors did not get this. Now I'm about to upload some audio from what happened on February the 1st, 2021 in the city of Plains Township, Pennsylvania, 15 miles from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Now, if you haven't heard of that area, it is in Lucerne County. And let me tell you, it is a beautiful area. People talk about everybody knows everybody. It's one of those places where everybody just enjoy each other's company. Roughly about 9,000 people. A lot of historical stuff is on the outskirts of Wilkes Barre, which is, again, part of the northern part of Scranton. And like I said before, everybody loves it. It's a town that everybody knows everybody. And when you get in one of those towns where everybody knows everybody, it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. There also been some notable people like Ed Walsh, the Major League Baseball player back in the 1900s, and then the General John Yalesock. So yeah, there's two people that I don't know nothing about. We don't probably either. But I'm about to upload this clip right here of what happened on that fateful morning between three neighbors, a married couple, Lisa and James Goy, and the neighbor, Jeffrey Spaide. And we will break down how this all went down in a horrible fashion. With that being said, let's jump into it. Warning, this is very, very, very brutal audio. You will be hearing a lot of violence in this audio. If it's not something that you want to hear, you may want to fast forward 3 minutes. All right, with that being said, let's jump into it.
Are you okay? Oh, yeah. Oh my God. What happened? What happened? Call 911. What happened? Call 911. Go get my phone. Oh my God. What happened? No. Are you okay? You should have kept your fucking pussy, huh?
And just like that, you just saw, if you're looking at the video version of this podcast, if you're listening to the tape of this broadcast, even though the quality may not be that great, you heard the audio of James and Lisa Goy losing their lives by the hands of Jeffrey Spaide, their neighbor. Now, if you look at this without getting all the context, you would assume that James Spaide was this crazy behind neighbor that was probably ex-military, could not get out of his own way, and decided to just annihilate his two innocent neighbors across the street over snow being shoveled onto his property after he shoveled his snow very carefully. But it's not that. It's way more to it than that. It's been years of buildup. And that type of buildup can really do something to a person. So with that being said, we are going to start on how this came about, what happened. So let's see. So the Goy family moved into the neighborhood 15 years earlier in Plains Township, Pennsylvania, which is 15 miles southwest of Scranton, Pennsylvania. Now, as the Goys moved in the neighborhood, they quickly became very well known and popular as being very outgoing and very boisterous and very, very rude neighbors. Now, when we say rude, that means they were rude to the point that people would just come over for the parties, but it's socializing with them as an everyday thing was not happening. Now, as far as I know about James Goy was a construction worker. Worked construction most of his young adult life. I don't know what his wife was. I didn't really get into that. Couldn't get any research the way she worked. But I do know he definitely owned his own construction company. They had a 15-year-old son. Their 15-year-old son was autistic. All right. And being autistic, that definitely takes a lot of hard work to take care of an autistic child based upon the level of the autistic spectrum they're on. Now, when it comes to Lisa Goy, James Goy, everybody in the neighborhood will also tell you that they were straight bullies. Straight bullies. When people talk about them in the documentaries, it's not oh my God, they were the greatest people we ever met in our lives. Nah, not particularly. Now, again, I'm not speaking ill of the dead. I'm just going by what people have already has discussed in his own document. Now, when it comes to the neighbors, one of the neighbors said, which one had a problem with the Spades. With the Goys, Goys, was Shannon Lay. She was a single mom. She said one day she just pushed her trash can a little bit over towards their area because she was trying to clean up and trying to make sure a yard was good they had a block party. And they basically told her if she didn't move that joint, that they was going to basically move it for her, and was rude about it. Another incident was another neighbor, Miss Betty Mitchell, who lived across the street from them. She was one day just clearing out her weeds and brush in her flower area by a fence, and one of the rocks went over the fence by accident, a couple actually. Well, they took the time to write a note and hung it over her side of the fence like they was in kindergarten, telling her, make sure you don't put rocks on our side of the fence next time. Instead of just being neighborly and just ask the lady not to do it. They get more nastier. There was even instances that they would even say something about the Betty Mitchell's daughter, which was Rowan Mitchell, for being a lesbian. Now, here's my thing. I have nothing against anybody's lifestyle of the alphabet soup community. As long as you're not doing it in front of kids, that's your business. But you have no right to judge someone because of their sexual orientation. Just because their girlfriend waited outside of your area for a minute trying to get the girl to come in, and you're just going to make those kind of comments, that just lets me know how disturbed of a person you are. So anyway, sometime later, Jeffrey Spaide moves in the neighborhood. Now, Jeffrey Spaide is a rock star when it comes to being meticulous and being disciplined. Let's talk about it. Now, Jeffrey Spaide was the son of William Spaide and the late Margaret Gibbon Spaide. Now, he served in the U.S. Navy. He was a shipboard engineer technician. Then after that, he joined the United States Army National Guard and the United States Navy Reserve as a heavy equipment operator. Then after working as a facility engineer for the Lackawanna River Basic Sewer Authority for 5 years, he became an environmental engineer manager for the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. Now, this guy had a master's degree in water resources and environmental engineering from Villanova University. Then he had another degree, which was a bachelor's degree from Wilkes University in the environmental engineering. This guy off the chain, boy. He was later a project engineer for the Carroll Engineering Corporation for over 10 years. Now, this was the type of guy we talked about. The type of neighbor I would love to have, okay? He's going to go to work. He's going to pay what he needs to pay. He's not going to be asking you for 1,000 things. He just wants nice peace and quiet. Remember that. People that's very goal-oriented like that, they like nice peace and quiet. So when James first moved into the neighborhood, Goys tried to give him the welcome and treatment by asking him to come over and party with them. Well, he politely declined because again, Jeffrey Spaide is a guy that keeps to himself. He's an introvert. He doesn't want to interact with everybody. He just wants to live in peace and call it a day. So when he did do that, that's when James and Lisa Goy started to make comments about him not hanging out. Start calling him a square, live a little. Then it moved up to where they started calling him a creep. Now, Jeffrey let it go because Jeffrey, again, is a disciplined man. He's in the military. You know, the neighbors will probably get over it whenever they see that I don't bother them, they don't bother me, we'll be fine. Well, Jeffrey liked to park his vehicle in front of his home. Now, when you live in close to each other in these proximities, if you look at how that street is on West Berg Street, it's just like any street in America that's really close. You know, like when your houses are real close to each other, you know, you got limited space to park in front of your house, and then you got limited space to get in your driveway. So if you get multiple cars, that's why they have a lot of homeowner association to try to regulate that people have enough space. So if you're one of those guys that you got like 2 or 3 cars, you know, that's normal. I mean, but some people do have 2 or 3 cars. But when you start getting 4 and 5 cars, now you're going to have to figure out a way to park them somewhere else because you're taking up space for someone else, unless someone's nice enough to let you use that space for them. But then again, that's all about everybody being able to get out when they need to get out. So they confront James Spaide about parking in front of his own residence. Jeffrey Spaide. Now, James, who they sometimes call Jim, was like, listen, all right, you don't need to be parking there. That is our space. Jeffrey's like, wait a minute, how can that be yours? I'm across the street from you. You have your own spot in front of you. That makes no sense. Make it make sense to me. So Jimbo is out here yapping his mouth at this guy. Jeffrey's like, you know what? I don't have time for it. I'm going to walk in. So Jeffrey walks into his home, shuts the door. Well, next thing you know, probably a week or so later, Jeff comes home one day and there's a sign in front of his house saying no parking. It's like, wait a minute, what would the city put a sign in front of my house saying no parking? Like, he literally has to park in his driveway. So he's like, all right, okay, cool, whatever. And then when he trying to investigate, say, hey, trying to figure out what's going on, looking at the sign, that's when, you guessed it, James, aka Jim Goy, goes out there and say, hey, what didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you that this is my spot? You can't park there now, huh? So this guy is like blown away. Wait a minute. Why would you do that? Like, this is not even your area. So he goes and he calls the city. And sure enough, the city tells him, this is what it is. We can't do nothing about it. This is what we put in place. Now, there's a lot of speculation with my research that said that they think that James and Lisa Goy paid a hefty price to get the city to do that, because they was good at telling people all the time that they knew they had family in law enforcement and work in the city. But based upon their immediate family, since they have passed away, rest in peace to them, they have said that is not true. They never had anybody of family working into the administration or into the police department, as far as they know. But again, I just think that they probably paid a little extra money because he is a contractor. And if you do contract, you build relationships with the city, especially if you have built things for the city in the past. Now, besides all of that, they also had a problem with snapping back at him. Jeffrey was the type of guy, he would snap back at them. He would not let them run over him because that's the military side of it. If they tell him that he can't do something, he know his rights, he's like, nah, I'm not hearing that. I'm going to do it. And they did not like that at all. Now, the Goys also would bully people about parking near their driveway. This is about to make y'all really trip about the Goys, allegedly. Allegedly, the Goys would go and spray paint a line by their property of their cars. Because again, they all live real close to each other. And if you cross that line with your car, they will rudely tell you to move it and rudely berate you until you move. I mean, people were scared to say anything to them because these people were just ruthless at the mouth. Now, they also had a problem calling Jeffrey homophobic slurs. No one ever stated in this whole research that I was doing, or neighbors, no one ever talked about if Jeffrey was gay, bisexual, or not. But they did say that he did keep to himself, and he did like to grow flowers. You know, he loved to work in a flower yard. You know, he liked to do things that was therapeutic. And I know a lot of masculine men that work in flowers. Hell, I got an uncle that grew a whole greenhouse of flowers one time. So that's nothing new. That ain't like no feminine stuff. I mean, anybody can do that. But they would basically just bully him every chance they get. And then they would even make up reasons for him to move. Like if his car was parked kind of out the driveway, hanging out a little bit or something, they would try to make a big deal. You need to park further in. I can't back up. I can't do this. I can't turn, when they had plenty of space. They just wanted every piece of that block to themselves. They wanted people to understand that you are just here because we allow you to be here. This is our neighborhood. This is our property, which is crazy to me because it should be everybody's own. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, the Goys had a problem of always parking in other people's spots, though. Yeah, do as I say, but not as I do. The Goys would constantly park in other people's places without no remorse at all. And if you said something to them, they would snap back at you with, it's either their right or it's their property or you don't know what you're talking about. So people would just get so fed up with even confronting them. But Again, Jeffrey, he stood on business. He was not going to let them talk to him all kind of way. Now, they would also call James, aka Jim, so some of them call him Jim, would also call Jeffrey all types of names. And his wife would join in too now, sexually demoralizing names about what they thought his sexuality was. They may call him the F word, and I'm not going to repeat that because I hate that word. It's disgusting. They will call him a pussy, which is dumb. They will call him less of a man. Just all kinds of things that was just very disturbing. All because he didn't fit the ideal military guy that they wanted him to be in their head, or basically wouldn't hang out. Now, finally, James decided to poke the bear some more. Because now, since Jeffrey keeps standing up to him and Jeffrey keeps telling him that he's not backing down, he is going to do within reason what he needs to do in his yard and his space, James decided to put up cameras and point it towards Jeffrey Spaide's house. Now, Jeffrey was not comfortable with this. And y'all, let me tell you why. As a neighbor, I wouldn't be comfortable either. If you got your camera pointed directly at my area per se, you ain't got it pointed towards what you got going on, like in the backyard or the side yard or just the front. You got it out front, pointed towards only my area where I'm at. I find that uncomfortable, because why you got it all on me for? I'm not doing anything to you. I'm minding my own business. And when the concerns were brought up by Jeffrey, well, James just told him, basically, fuck you. This is how I'm going to do it. Now, I don't know about you, but I would be very highly upset that I have a neighbor who I'm telling you that this is uncomfortable for you to have these cameras on me like this, and you basically tell me to go fuck myself. Now, what is so upsetting about this is that these folks did not take into account that Jeffrey could have suffered from PTSD or anything like that. They was just having a good time picking at this guy, and they just wanted to poke the bear as much as possible. So, January 31st, the biggest snowstorm hits the northeastern region. We're talking about snow that just wouldn't stop coming down. So when people woke up, they had a lot of snow on the ground. I don't know how many inches or whatever snow, but I know it was a lot of snow. Well, Jeffrey Spaide, again, a creature of nature, probably could not go in, work because of being snowed in, decided to be productive. He went and snowed out his driveway. Now, if you're not from up north, or you're not from an area in the northern part of the South that has snow, because I'm from those areas, it is paramount to shovel snow out of your driveway, because you want to be able to have a solid foundation to walk on, so that way you don't be tripping, sliding, or whatever. And not to mention too, it cuts down on all the slush and all that. It's just a great way of stopping injuries, being able to drive in and out where you need to go. So after doing that with his driveway, he shovels it out. He's got the snow down, did his thing. He goes inside, get a cup of coffee, like any other person on a snowy day, or hot chocolate, just trying to relax. All of a sudden, he sees snow being thrown over on his side. Like, what the world is this? It ain't snowing. It's James Goy out here throwing snow on his side of the driveway. He ain't throwing it out there in the road. He ain't throwing it like in the back of the house, or he ain't even throwing it somewhere where it's not even in nobody's way or whatever on his property. He's throwing it right there on the next property over. So Jeffrey comes out and confronts him like, dude, what are you doing, man? And James is like, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't fucking matter. Right. And then they start to argue. So while they are arguing, and this is crazy, right? They were just arguing. And he's still trying to tell them to stop and everything else. Well, then James Goy gets so upset in the middle of the argument, stop clearing the snow from his vehicle, and he walk across to his neighbors that is in the street fussing at him, and made a fist at him. The surveillance footage showed the couple yelling at Spaide, calling him a motherfucker and a puss. Spaide then went back inside his home. Now, guys, let me tell you something. I want y'all to really remember this here. Put this in your thinking cap. Mr. Jeffrey went back into his home, and as the couple continued to shouting insults before he emerged holding a pistol. Now, this is where it gets insanity and common sense go out the window on the Goys side. The Goys started goading this guy to pull the trigger, saying things like, "You ain't gonna do it. You a puss. You ain't gonna shoot me. You know better than that, motherfucker." All that stuff. Goading this man with a pistol fully loaded to shoot you. And I guess after all of the frustration of years of trying to deal with these crazy behind neighbors and their crazy attitude, Jeffrey just lost it and started getting it in. And I say getting it in, I'm talking about he just started shooting. And when he went and he shot James down, that's when the wife coming out with the middle finger and stuff, talking stuff, and he just went and laid into her. But we'll get to that in a minute. So after he shoots up James, he goes back in his house. Yeah, he shoots her up too. But then she is still alive. So while he done shot her, she's still alive. James is barely holding on for dear life. He's almost going to the afterlife at this point. And that's what you hear in the video. He goes inside his house and get his AR-15. Now, guys, you know, if you own an AR-15 and you're a gun nut or you're a gun fan like I am, an AR-15 is about damage. If you get shot with that, you're not coming back to see us again. Any type of mid-extremities in the head or any major artery areas, you're done. You're not coming back to see us. This man went and took this AR-15 and walked over and let this woman see her husband getting annihilated with this AR-15 shot up again. Then he goes and walks over to Lisa Goy and he says the following: "Didn't I tell you to shut your fucking mouth and put another bullet in this woman?" Now, while this is all going on, in between that, the neighbors, one of the neighbors, which was Betty Mitchell kids, son, because he was in school he was supposed to be at school that day, but they snowed out. And that is the young man, Gary. Gary seen this and Gary heard up, got back inside, was telling everybody, "Hey man, lock your doors. Let's get our guns." Because his mama had guns. We may have to get in a shootout with this guy. Now, after Jeffrey done did all this, Jeffrey goes, politely walks in his home, and start pacing back and forth. Now 911 calls are coming in. It's getting so many 911 calls, it's busy. People don't know what's going on in the 911 center. All they know is that there is a shooting on Westburg Street. A man that just shot up his neighbors with an AR-15. They snowed in. They don't know how they're going to get there. So the emergency services finally got there. Took them they said almost 40 minutes to an hour because of the snow. When they did get there, the man was still in there. Now, Jeffrey Spaide is in his house. He's still pacing back and forth. They're trying to get him to come out. You know, he's not saying anything. They decide with their SWAT team, they have to do what they got to do. They bust in. And as soon as they bust in, Jeffrey Spaide took his own. Bodies laid out there in that snow for hours because it took the coroner forever to get there because of the weather. So imagine being in that neighborhood and you see 3 bodies, 1 in a house, 2 outside in the street of your neighborhood, just covered up with white covering with cops babysitting it or whoever babysitting it until the coroner can show up and do a proper autopsy. That's disturbing, bro. With the snow coming down on the ground while this is going down. So this right here is just some craziness. Now, after this all happened, it was later learned that there was 15 to 20 shots at this couple because of everything. Now, while this is going on, a family member, Chris Goy, and a lot of the friends of the Goy family started and ex-neighbors tried to call in to social media networks like YouTube and other entities to stop the video for going viral of the Goys being murdered, because the Goys video got leaked out some kind of way. Never been told who leaked the video out, because it was in a home security system. So it had to be somebody in the company or something. But anyway, by the time they tried, it was too late. I think this video been shown combined with all of the platforms it's on. I say about a good 20 million views of this thing all across the actual social media platforms roughly have seen this. Now, the family said they are traumatized by that being seen and being showed. Hey, it is what it is at this point. So, in this case, there was no winners. And I'm going to tell you why there was no winners. First of all, on the Goy side, they had a 15-year-old son at that time that was autistic. He's probably right around 18 or turning 18 now. You threw your whole life away with being unkind and being a bully to everyone that you can, instead of focusing on being there for your 15-year-old son. And that right there, I tell you, is the biggest tragedy on their part. Another thing is James and Lisa Goy should have been more loving towards their neighbors, because no one had nothing good to say about them in the neighborhood, even when they passed away. That's one of my biggest fears, man, is I die on and leave this earth and nobody has nothing good to say about my ass. Nothing. I would want the people to be not only screaming my name on the heavens, up to the heavens, is rest in heaven or rest in peace or sleep in peace, but I want people to say, he did this for me one day. He did that for me one day. His wife and him was just dynamic people. I just want somebody to give me that kind of review if I leave this world. Now getting back to James Spaide. Yes, what James Spaide did is unexcusable. I'm not going to never justify that killing someone in cold blood over a dispute of snow is the right thing to do. But James Spaide had been traumatized by these folks. He has been trying to work it out. He was trying to be the good neighbor, but these people wouldn't leave him alone. And once you poke a bear and you keep poking it and poking it and poking it, you'll see that even in the zoo, the bear gets very aggressive. And next thing you know, it's coming out that corner, coming after anything in its way. And that's what happened with James Spaide. He got poked. He got poked too many times by that family. Lisa and James Goy should have left him alone. You don't want to party? Fine. You can still be friendly with someone that doesn't want to party. My condolences goes out to all of the family. Now, the neighborhood is not the same. A lot of people have stopped socializing in that neighborhood. The neighborhood now is just like it is. But that's just becoming every neighborhood in America, because people don't want to experience this. That's why if you got a neighbor, try to get along with your neighbor, man. Even if they do something that get on your nerves, or you need more rest, or your third shift, whatever. Try to work it out, because I'm telling you, beefing with your neighbor is very deadly. And that's why we're doing these shows, so you can understand. Because you could find yourself in the same situation as James, Lisa Goy, and Jeffrey Spaide. But that being said, y'all, thank y'all for hanging out. I love you guys so much. If you want to follow me, y'all know what to do. Type in "You Can't Make This BS Up." I'm on all platforms. Full podcasts, all of the podcasts associated with Apple, like Castbox. I'm on Deezer. I'm on Spotify. I'm everywhere. Just type that in. Please leave us a review. Tell me what you think about this podcast. All right. Constructive criticism is welcome. All right. Just don't be getting crazy and saying something that is just insanely crazy. But give us a review, heart us up, man, so we can get in the feeds. So that way we can continue to push the narrative of good true crime stories. With that being said, y'all know what it is. I am about to roll out. Give you some intro music this time before I go. Let's get it.